Hi, welcome to Comic Talk. I'm Josh. Yeah, we are here to talk about the Eisner Awards for this year. The nominees are out.
Oh, and Eisner. How about that one?
There you go. Good one. So, thing. All right, so I guess what we're going to do here is we're just going to talk about each category and what we...
Not all the categories.
Yeah, some of the categories are not cool. But yeah, we're going to kind of go through the list, talk about some things we know, some stuff we don't know, and we'll just go from there. It's going to be kind of a shoot from the hip sort of episode.
So, first up we got Best Short Story. Black Death in America by Tom King. Really need to read that shit.
Yeah, I have not read it. It's free online now, so...
Which makes me feel worse about not reading it, because, I could have at any point.
Right.
But apparently Tom King is, really excited about it. He says it's, one of his favorite things that he's written. Yeah, he worked really hard on.
Worked the hardest on or something like that, Mm-hmm. So, we should definitely check that out.
Yeah, we're big fans of Tom King, of course, with The Vision, Sheriff of Babylon.
Right. Now, most of the other stuff in this Best Short Story category, I don't know. I know what The Oatmeal is. It's in there. What's it called? It's Going to Be Okay. So, The Oatmeal is kind of hit or miss. It's a webcomic. Have you know anything about
Not really into webcomics.
Yeah,
I'm sure I've seen some of their shit.
It's really just a comic strip, digital. So, I don't know how I feel about that one.
It's kind of weird that it's in the same category.
Kind of strange.
On that.
Yeah, but I do like that they're putting webcomic stuff on here now. I think that's appropriate.
There's a separate category for that, but I guess it says a little bit more that there's actual bleed over into the more higher profile categories and stuff.
And these other ones, I just don't know them. Lion and Mouse, Killing and Dying, Hand Me Down. I don't know those.
That's the only one. Yeah. Yeah, no idea.
Okay, so...
it's in one of them, the Lion and Mouse is in Fable Comics, which I have no idea about. So.
Yeah, strange. I don't know.
So that's a lot of stuff we don't know about. A perfect way to kick it off.
Yeah, okay. Let's move on. Let's talk about Best Single Issue and one-shots.
Again, we've talked about this before. I'm really taken aback that the Silver Surfer made it. Because we read some of that, and it was trash.
Yeah, I haven't read this particular one. This was issue 11, Never After. But it's Slott and All Red. It's the same group. Mm-hmm. I kind of like the way Silver Surfer looks. I like the way All Red's drawing it. Mm-hmm. In so much as it looks like a Silver Age book. But I don't like the fact that it reads like a Silver Age book.
Yeah. And there's some... when I was reading, Superior Spider-Man and stuff, and then when Amazing Spider-Man first came back... Slott will periodically have really strong issue and stuff, but it never dawned on me that they were that kind of level. It's always wow, this is a really good book for a Spider-Man book or something like that. But that's
always an addendum, right?
Yeah, that little asterisk.
Yeah. And a lot of people have mixed feelings about that Silver Surfer just simply because it's not old Silver Surfer. It doesn't have much to do with the old Kirby Silver Surfer where it was very philosophical. This is basically, I think rightfully so, just called a Doctor Who ripoff.
Sure.
It's just random girl and weird otherworldly guy going around and doing crazy adventures. But that doesn't bother me at all. I just don't care for it. I just think it's cheesy writing, and that's it. So surprised that got a one shot. These others, again, don't know them.
No.
I don't know any of these names. Richard Van Camp sounds familiar, but I don't know who it is. And these other ones, I just don't know anything about them.
Yeah. These next three are the ones that I really want to talk about. So, again, Silver Surfer is nominated for Best Continuing Series, But on that same category, we get Southern Bastards by Jason Aaron, which I've been following basically since it started. It's just so fucking good. I actually gave it to my dad to read. He's not really into comics or anything at all, but he's grown up in small towns and stuff like that. So it's you may be able to identify with some stuff out of there. And yeah, every time he reads it, he'll read an arc and call me and be all this shit seems like it could actually happen. The coach boss's dad I think is one of his favorite characters so far. Who ends up like dying pretty quick, but he's just like such a crazy bastard, you know. And my favorite part about the series so far, I guess, is just that it gives really everyone a fair shake. Like the first arc paints the antagonist just as this like terrible fucking person, like the really like the key problem that this town has. And then we get some backstory on him for most of the second arc, and he becomes a little bit more sympathetic just in the context of how fucked up his upbringing was. And then a little bit later, we see kind of the powers that are like pulling his strings and make him do, you know, like their bidding and stuff like that. And it's like, well, you know, what first seemed like, you know, a bunch of problems caused by this guy, like he's just the face for all that shit, you know, because he's the coach of the high school football team, which is all that matters to fucking small town, whatever. And so it's great. It tackles a lot of stuff. It tackles a lot of like racial issues and just like economic shit, religion. Like there's some crazy ass religious shit going on in there. It's just a great series overall. Yeah,
well, and then like at the other end of the spectrum, I'm really surprised to see Invincible on here. Invincible is one of my all-time favorite series.
The original one. Yeah.
I'm actually a few years behind on it now. I just, you know, it's one of those things. We don't read it for the show, and so I never get to read it. But it's awesome to see that it's actually getting an Eisner nod. To me, it is what a great pulpy, old school type comic would be without being bound up with DC and Marvel continuity and character rights. It does a lot of the things that you would always have wanted to see happen with a character like Spider-Man or Superman, or these really beloved characters with a rich background, but that can never move forward. They can't have these status quo changes. And what Invincible is it's this character that's set up in a world where it's okay to have status quo changes. You can kill major characters. You can make major changes to who he is and what he does and how he feels about the world. And through the course of that series, which I don't know if best continuing series, if it means this year or if it means a series that's continuing this year that over the breadth of the series deserves recognition. But if it's the latter, I can completely understand why, if it hasn't gotten nods, it finally is. In that it gets to explore the superhero genre in a way that's fun and loose and not so serious like a lot of other things that a lot of times when we get a new superhero like a Mark Millar sort of setup or things like that, they really decide, okay, what I really want to do is do something really serious and really deconstruct the genre. And Invincible doesn't do that. It's not a deconstructive narrative. It embraces the genre and the trappings of the genre.
It just takes it places that you couldn't otherwise.
It just takes it out and further and does things with it that you can't normally do. You couldn't just decide to turn Spider-Man into a space opera for 2 years. Like, they wouldn't let you do it. They're like, no, Spider-Man belongs on Earth. Like, he has to be in New York, right? But Kirkman can do whatever he wants. If he wants to turn it into a space epic for a while, he does. Then he brings it back and turns it into a romance. And
and this is one of the ones that, you know, every time I see it on the shelf, I'm like, oh, I wonder if that's still good, you know, and I just never pick it up. So we may have to, like, actually consider doing that now. On that note, though, I'm kind of perturbed that Jupiter's Circle or Legacy isn't on this, because I feel like it's at least as good as Invincible.
Do you think they should be considered limited series? Do you think maybe that's why they're not at least on this list?
But they're not on that list either.
I know. Well, so let's get to that. Best limited series. That's next on the list.
So we've got Chrononauts on there, which I didn't read. Do you know anything about Chrononauts?
I don't either.
Yeah,
no,
okay.
Didn't read it.
All right. Fade Out is the next on the list. We've raved about how awesome we think that is. Personally, if I had to recommend like one thing from this entire list for somebody to read, it would probably be that. Yeah,
it's pretty hard to beat the Fade Out. Just in general, it's so well written, tightly crafted, and it's an easy entry comic too for somebody who's not familiar with the genre, because
there's no superheroes in
there's
it.
no superheroes. The art and paneling and layouts are very easy to follow. It's very straightforward.
It's set in this, the dreamy kind of 1950s thing, which, it's always like people romanticize it, but I think, he really did an excellent job like showing the reality of the time while not detracting from, the things that people love about it.
The only other thing on here is minimum wage, which just happens to be on my to read list.
Yeah.
But I haven't read it.
Yeah, I've heard good things about it. I think we actually got some comments about it, like, why the fuck aren't you guys reading this?
Right.
So, yeah, it's too bad it's a limited series, because otherwise we'd probably pick it up.
Yeah, we'll get there.
We'll do it in trade or something like that.
We'll get to it.
Next we got Best New Series, Bitch Planet, Harrow County, Kojamax, Monstrous, Paper Girls, Unbeatable Squirrel Girl. I'm not sure that I agree with having Paper Girls on there.
Yeah.
I mean, as of the last issue, I finally kind of came around and was okay, this is a pretty cool series and whatnot. But I feel like there were so much better choices for everything that was out at the point where they made the decision to put it on there. It almost kind of feels like they just want a Brian K. Vaughan title on there.
I agree. I think it's a Brian K. Vaughan nod more than anything. Honestly, this is the list that I'm probably the most critical of that we have here. I mean, I love The Unbeatable Squirrel Girl. I think it's really funny and fresh, but I'm not sure if it belongs on Best New Series. It's very genre-y or niche,
Yeah. And I mean, it's a funny book, but I don't feel like it's even the funniest book.
Right. It's not incredible.
No. I like Ant-Man more than I like Squirrel Girl.
Right. And then Bitch Planet, I feel like... Have you read any of Bitch Planet? No.
It just doesn't appeal to me.
To me, it feels like this is just a nod to show, comics aren't just for dudes. Unbeatable Squirrel Girl has a little bit of that feel too, but Bitch Planet is particularly irritating to me. I've read the first arc of it, and frankly, I thought it was awful. Not because of what it is, because it's like a feminist manifesto almost, but it's just badly written. It takes all of the things that feminists supposedly hate and uses them all. So it
seems like super try hard,
Yeah, well...
Somebody tried to take all of their feelings and put them into one, short run, and it just turned out to be a clusterfuck that really made no points about anything kind of deal.
It feels exploitative of feminism, frankly.
Yeah.
It's sort of... it's almost ironic how much sexism is involved. It's one of these things where they're intentionally sexist to prove a point about other sexism.
Sure.
Here's what it would be like if a woman wrote something sexist. But really, it just ends up not being any better than the other sexist garbage that nobody wants to read.
Right.
Because it's just more sexist garbage, right?
So it's maybe analogous to Last Gang in Town and punk rock.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's just...
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It's just not very good. I don't understand the appeal of it unless you're, 100-pound overweight woman with blue hair and fetish about vampires. It just... I don't know, man. It's just not written well. It's just bad.
The patriarchy disapproves.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't get it. Next couple categories are publications for early readers and kids. I don't have any familiarity with these. I mean, I have kids, but they're not really into comics, and the one that isn't really into early reader stuff.
Sure.
So, I don't know. So I think that'll move us down to best humor publication and talk about those a little bit. I'm not too familiar with any of these. I know Cyanide and Happiness. I didn't read the Boom release, but I know the webcomic, and it's at best spotty normally.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. It's consistent. It comes out a lot, and I think that's really what it has going for it. People recognize it when they see it. Mm-hmm. And so when it comes onto your, when it ends up on your desk in book form, and you're picking Eisner Awards nominees, it probably gets on there. I think that's what I'm assuming. It seems like a weird list to me. There's
not anything on there that I thought would be on there.
Right.
Which is weird.
There's no Nick Spencer book.
There's no Nick Spencer. I Hate Fairyland isn't on there.
Right.
Which was awesome.
Yeah. It's an odd list, but I don't know these other things. I don't know Deep Dark Fears or Sex Castle. Hark a Vagrant. I actually know Hark a Vagrant, but I don't know this particular publication of it. Mm-hmm. To me, it's very similar to Cyanide and Happiness. It's another just webcomic nod. Again, it's okay. It's just consistent. It's out a lot. People recognize it, I suppose.
So, Best Writer, we got Jason Aaron nominated for Southern Bastards, Men of Wrath, Doctor Strange, Star Wars, Thor. Thor, I may argue with a little bit, but again, with Southern Bastards and Doctor Strange, totally on board. Guy deserves it. He's a great fucking writer.
Yeah, I don't know if this is his best year of writing, but it's okay. I'm again surprised there's no Nick Spencer on here, but it might be that some of his funniest stuff has been like this year. I don't know what the cutoff date is exactly. Sure. Does The Fix get on here? Does the new Astonishing Ant-Man stuff get on here? So
Astonishing Ant-Man's been on for a while, so I feel like it should be.
Sure. Well, the old run of it, right? But I mean, who knows? But so I feel like he probably deserves to be on here just because he's been doing so much stuff.
Yeah. He wrote like the Captain America issue that broke the fucking internet.
Right.
So.
Right. So I'm surprised not to see him. John Allison, Giant Days Again. That's a series that we have not read. I've heard great stuff about it. That it's very fresh and fun, and has a lot of good teen, young energy to it. So I think we should get to it at some point, but have not read that. Ed Brubaker. Obviously, we love Ed Brubaker. Fade Out was probably our favorite thing from last year.
Mm-hmm. Velvet is probably my favorite thing that I'm reading on my own. Criminal Special Edition. We did a episode about that, of the Deadly Hands of Criminal, and we both really liked it.
Yeah,
so no surprise there.
That would make sense. Marjorie Liu's Monstrous is a bit surprising, just because I don't know anything about it. I've heard a few people say it's good, but I don't know.
Honestly, I'm kind of surprised not to see Morrison on it this year. I feel like Morrison has put out a lot of really avant-garde, crazy fucking shit in the past year. And he's one of those writers that... I feel like a lot of writers sort of, hit their peak, early in their career, and then they get to the big two, and it just gets kind of watered down at that point, and then they never really quite make it back. Maybe they put out a Clever Image book, whatever, but... I feel like Morrison's just been on fire really since he not left DC but decided not to take such a big critical role there. Multiversity was really fucking good, and Nameless was really fucking good. And I know there's some other shit that he put out, and he's been doing the heavy metal thing, and I'm sure that's all really fucking good.
Right.
So. And
then on top of that, Mark Millar, where's he on this list? I'm really surprised not to see him there, because he's been putting out really great work this year. Mm-hmm. And the last one on this list probably is a worthy nod. G. Willow Wilson for Miss Marvel. He's done a few other things too over the last year or so, but Miss Marvel is huge. It's a giant success. Younger people love it, so it makes sense. It belongs on here, I think.
Yeah. Also... Yeah, I don't know if it's his best year for writing, but I've been really impressed with Wade again for the past year. Mm-hmm. He did have that Justice Inc. the Avenger thing, which we were not too happy with. But he reinvented Archie very successfully.
Yeah, where's that? That's a great point. Between Daredevil and Archie, come on.
And again, both of those books have completely different feels and tones and stuff like that, and he completely nailed them both. Typical Mark Waid style.
Yeah.
So. I would put him on there. I'm just saying.
Maybe they're just tired of putting him on these.
Maybe.
Best Writer Artist. This is kind of a cool one, but unfortunately one that I don't know much about. I don't think I've read anything that's on this list. I've seen Hip Hop Family Tree so many times on the shelf and thought about picking it up. But I missed the beginning of it, and I don't understand what it is, so I figured eventually I'll pick it up and trade. The rest of this?
I think it's probably just kind of hip-hop fanfic or comic guised versions of things that actually happened. I don't know. I can't speculate.
Yeah, and the rest of this stuff, I frankly, I don't even recognize any of it at all.
No.
So, is any of that any good?
Yeah.
Best penciler, inker, or penciler, inker team.
I don't really want to talk about that.
I think it's a pretty interesting category. We got All Red on Silver Surfer,
Sure.
which is interesting. Like we said, the writing is meh, but I think the art is pretty cool on it.
Yeah, it's alright.
I think Cliff Chiang is doing a lot of cool stuff on Paper Girls. I think
Doctor Strange has better penciler inker team, but
I agree. Where is Bacalo, right? Like his penciling and the inking that goes on top of that penciling has been really awesome this year.
Yeah, impressive.
Yeah. Cliff Chiang, I think, has been doing really cool stuff with Paper Girls. I love the way that looks and feels. And also, Erica Henderson. I really like Henderson's style. I like Unbeatable Squirrel Girl a lot. I love the way it looks. I think Jughead looks really good.
I think it looks too much like Squirrel Girl.
Yeah, that's true. But I like the style. I think it's really cool.
Sure.
The next category, we do have the Best Painter Multimedia Artist. I just wanted to mention that because Dustin Nguyen for Descender.
Totally deserves it.
We've totally been super into that. But where's Mike Del Mundo on that list? I can't believe he didn't get a nod there with his work that he did last year on Weird World. Mm-hmm. That was incredible work.
Yeah.
And that was painting / multimedia work, and it was just out of control awesome and nothing. So that I was surprised that he didn't show up on this list.
And I think it's weird that Scotty Young isn't on the cover artist.
That is weird.
He's done like a million fucking variants, and all of them are super popular.
Right. Yeah, I think maybe on something like this, maybe his style is just so simple that they're just not into it.
But he has a voice. Like, if you're going to give... what was the Squirrel Girl?
Right, Erica Henderson.
Yeah,
right.
If you're going to give Erica Henderson a nod for having like a unique style, even though it's fucking ugly, then, give Scotty Young props for... Actually,
his little chibis.
Yeah,
right.
People like that shit.
Yep. David Aja is an obvious choice there. The rest of these, again, I don't know. The Hip Hop Family Tree always looks amazing on the cover. That's part of the reason why I always look at it and almost buy it.
Mm-hmm. Some chick that did Harley Quinn.
Amanda Connor. Those are terrible. I've not seen a single Harley Quinn cover that I thought, like, that looks great.
Oh, there was the one that was all white. That one was probably top of the list.
There was just nothing? Was it a sketch cover?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's just white. It said Harley Quinn.
Okay, well, that sounds better than most of the ones I've seen.
Cover,
Harley Quinn has that weird thing where it's supposed to be, like, empowering, but most of it just seems degrading to me. I don't understand that line. I guess as a male, I just can't find it.
It's simplistic and shallow and over-sexualized.
Yeah.
So...
But apparently that's a good thing sometimes, and other times it's a bad thing. I don't know.
It's empowering, like Miley Cyrus's VMA performance, right. I guess.
Right, I guess so. I don't know. I guess it was drawn by a lady, so that makes it good, whereas if a guy draws it, it's bad, I guess. I don't know. Whatever. Yeah. Not into it. Best coloring, we have Laura Allred again. A lot of Allred nods for that Silver Surfer, and really odd, but I mean, it's the art is the selling point, I think, or the thing that makes it not awful.
I guess. If there is a thing.
However, we do have Jordi Belair, who we have liked a lot of his coloring this year. Mm-hmm. He's one of those names. A lot of times on a show like this, colorists' names just don't even come up. Like, we'll mention it, but that's it. Like, when we're saying who did it. But this guy, he's one of the people who we consistently say, like, oh, Belair's doing the coloring. That's interesting, and you can you can definitely tell because we liked him here and here and here. Mm-hmm. So that's cool to see him on here. These others, we got Breitweiser from the Fade Out and Velvet,
and the Criminal magazine. Yeah, so
her work's pretty cool. I'm not sure I understand why it's in best coloring. I think she's a pretty straightforward colorist, but maybe that's good. Again,
in Velvet, she does a pretty good job.
Gotcha.
And the Phillips style. I mean, there's not really a lot you can do without detracting from the Phillips style.
Right.
But
she's tasteful.
Yeah.
I'm surprised not to see Placentia.
Yeah.
On the list. Placentia did some really cool stuff in the last year. Very colorful, going against the grain of what you would expect on the page. Mm-hmm. Taking a lot of dark moments and making them bright. Taking bright moments and making them dark. He really affects the tone of the books that he works on pretty heavily, so I'm surprised he's not on here.
So that's about our Eisner thoughts. So yeah, some cool stuff on there. Some what the fucks.
Would love to know what you people out there think should be winning these, and which of these things that we didn't mention or mentioned not knowing about should we look into? Because clearly they're Eisner nominated things, so a lot of this is probably good. Mm-hmm. But what do you people out there think, being familiar with us and our tastes, should we read off of here? Because we would love to look into some of this stuff.
Yeah, especially stuff that's still going on. Because we'd love to, augment the poll list a little bit.
The funny thing is, a lot of years when I look at the Eisner nominees, I recognize a lot of it. But as we've started doing this, we've been doing this for about a year. Mm-hmm. Doing a show like this actually focuses you more on specific stuff, mm-hmm. right? It's just the nature of spending a lot of our time reading things for this show. So for the first time, I don't recognize the majority of things on the list, which is a little bit embarrassing because we do a show.
Sure.
But it's just, it's the irony of the situation that we're in, right? Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
We're extremely well-versed in, 20 things or something.
Right. So I would really appreciate anybody out there who can give us some insight based on what you know of us. So it would be great.
Deuces.
See ya.